Welcome back to J&J Dynasty. Well, let's continue on the series here with going through the divisions and the players, who to have, who to not have, maybe some values, just generally just rolling through teams. And I like these guys, I don't like these guys, kind of crapolisky, right? It's maybe a fun exercise, maybe not, but let's do it. All right. So, what's going on here? I was in the NFL. Let me get back to standings. Computers, what do they do to you? So we're talking about the NFC East in this video. And so it's going to be the Dallas Cowboys, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Commanders, still hate that name, and the Giants, still hate that name. So, let's go with it. So with the Cowboys, let's start with the quarterback as always, right? So you got Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott, I think, is going to be a borderline top 5 quarterback. If you have him, he's solid. If you have a terrible quarterback, go and get him. Maybe not as expensive as the other options. He could be on a highly prolific offense this year. Obviously Elliott, CeeDee Lamb, guys you want. I mean, is Elliott getting ready for the downslope in his career? Well, heck yeah, but he's not there yet. He still showed a lot of usage. I don't know about great production, but he was hurt last year. If he gets usage and the production, he could have a big-time season here yet, because they have to have him for this year and next year, apparently, yet with his contract. So in Dynasty, he's a guy to probably hang on to, right? So when you talk Elliott, then you also have to talk Pollard. Well, with talk of them using him a little bit more as a receiver, actually as a receiver, not just receiving, he could provide some good upside, if he winds up playing in the slot a little bit with that kind of thing. And, so that may come to fruition based off of their wide receiver play and or lack thereof. We all know that Gallup got injured, going to be a late arrival onto the field during the season because of his ACL injury. I believe it was an ACL. So with that being said, CeeDee Lamb is going to be the clear number one. Can he handle that? Can he handle the double coverage? Can he handle the best defensive back on him every game? So those are the things that we're going to have to find out about the Dallas offense. So like I said, Gallup, we don't know what he's going to be until week 6. And is he going to come back fully healthy? Is he going to have the extenuating leg issues that usually accompany the ACL coming back from it the next year? The lower back, the hamstrings, the calf strains, all those kinds of things. Issues with your other knee, because you're favoring it. Hip issues, all these kinds of things come with it. James Washington, don't touch him. No thank you. Noah Brown, Noah wants you. Talking fantasy, maybe great guys. All these views are based off of fantasy, right? They do have a couple Semi-Fenko. I heard some good things about him last year, but it never came to fruition. Maybe a guy to keep a corner of your eye on, but nothing really there. So basically, guys you want is CeeDee Lamb and Jalen Tolbert. The rookie is supposed to get all kinds of love at the beginning of the year. He's going to be probably the number 2 wide receiver, depending on if CD can wind up getting away from guys or not. Tolbert could be a very sneaky get. So look for him in your drafts, or look to go get him. A lot of times I'm seeing him going late in second rounds or early third rounds as far as drafts, because he came from a smaller school, because he was a senior. He's back there farther, but that doesn't mean that he can't play, right? So, Jerry Rice came out as a senior, came from a smaller school. Just saying. Not saying he's going to be Jerry Rice, but I'm saying that he could be very useful and could be a good player, right? So that brings us down to probably my favorite Dallas Cowboy player, and that's Dalton Schultz. I have 5-6 shares of Dalton Schultz. I picked him up in any draft, any season that I could get last year. I don't have as many shares of him as I should, because a buddy of mine told me last year, and I trusted him off the cuff on waiver day, that they were going to start whatever his name was at the beginning of the season. So I literally cut half the shares of Schultz that I had, and I had to try to go back and acquire them on waivers the next week. I didn't get them all back. So don't listen to false news. He said it was 100% true, but apparently it wasn't, or obviously it wasn't, that they were planning on using what's his name, the guy that everybody thought was going to be the guy in Dallas the last 2 years. So just because they pay you, look how much they pay you and for those guys and the usage. So Dalton Schultz, by far the number one guy I like on Dallas. I think that pretty much covers it. Backup quarterbacks, nothing there to look at. So let's go over to the Eagles then. A lot of interesting issues with the Eagles, right? If I could, gotta go like this to be able to see stuff. I don't like this. No, sorry, don't like it. Philadelphia, they're down on P, right? Okay. I'm using the stats from last year and going down with the teams, just looking at those from last year. So if I miss a rookie or anything like that in one of these videos for a team, or somebody who was on the team that didn't play, they might not be on here. I might not hit them, even though I know pretty much everybody on the team. So hopefully I'm hitting everybody. But if that's the case, give me a comment below and say, hey, what about this? Who do you think about this guy? I'm definitely happy to throw nonsensical advice out there. So, I mean, if with Philadelphia, the whole team literally revolves around Jalen Hurts. How good a quarterback is he? How good a quarterback can he be? Can he be a throwing quarterback, not just a running quarterback? So that's literally what this is going to come down to. Man, my asthma's bad. I can hear it going squeaking on the breaths. So Jalen Hurts, he has the potential to be a top 6 type quarterback, or get up to the top 5 or top 6, I should say, in the top 10. And he has the ability to be a 12 to 15 quarterback, right? Depends on the offense and how they do it. Also, with different pundits, I heard that beginning of last year, in neutral game scripts, they threw the ball as much or more than everybody. They were in the top 3, I believe it was, for neutral game scripts the first 8 weeks for throwing the ball. Well, obviously, we saw what they did at the end of last year with the rushing, and part of that was because Hurts couldn't throw the ball to people. So, but was that because of the wide receivers that they had? Or is that because Hurts couldn't throw anybody open? Or was that because of the play calling? So hopefully a little bit of that will resolve itself here throughout the year. But obviously they bring in A.J. Brown. Had a bad year last year. He was hurt, have him in a couple of leagues, and he totally disappointed me. And he's one of the reasons in a couple leagues that I wound up with the first overall pick because he did nothing all year. So A.J. Brown comes in to be the number 1. I think literally that will help Brown. It will help Smith also because 1A, 1B. I mean, you've got 2 really good receivers, more like Minnesota, like Dallas had. It's where who you're really going to cover. One guy's going to be much better than the other guy as far as with his opportunity to get open, things like that. So I do think that they're going to help each other. I do like both those wide receivers. I do think Smith can have a 1,000-yard year this season. I do think that he can score more touchdowns also. So I do like Smith. I really like him as a prospect yet. Even though I think some people are giving up on him already, I wouldn't. If you can get him cheap, go get him, right? If you can get a second round, get him in the second round, early second round, I like that all day. You go from a top 5 pick one year to a second round pick the next year, go get you some shares, especially even if he's only going to be a number 2 wide receiver. If he's a top 30 wide receiver the rest of his career, you're still making money. He's the type of guy who's going to get YouTube championships because of how much better he is than other guys wide receiver 2s, right? And that's if Hurts can throw again. So, that's pretty much it as far as the wide receivers on there. Jalen Reagor, no thank you. Anybody else, who do they have on their roster? They got Quez Watkins now? Yeah, no thank you. Dak Prescott, Jalen Reagor, yeah, no. Greg Ward, no. Jeez. Yeah, that's a whole lot of no up and down that roster. Now, I do think that their running back situation is rather interesting. I do see, Miles Sanders has the potential and the ability, if he could stay healthy, to be something decent. Don't know if he ever will be that. Maybe he's just got the Penn State curse, Guys from Penn State always get hurt. He came from Penn State, I believe. I think he did. Good check it out, but I'm not going to. Saquon, you go all the way back. do the Wayback Machine, and you'll know who I'm talking about. I can't think of his name right now, actually. But at any rate, Penn State running backs get hurt a lot. So can he stay healthy? I mean, I do like Gainwell. I know that he's an undersized running back, but I think with the ability to catch the ball that he has, if they put him in the slot at times, which I think would really accentuate his skill set, if they would use him like, say, a Percy Harvin type, right? Not necessarily a Deebo Samuel, but more of a Percy Harvin, maybe a Cordero Patterson, but even more so a wide receiver, but as a running back, right? So maybe more like they used Deebo Samuel last year, where he gets 10, 12 carries, but still gets, 6, 8, 10 targets as running routes out of the slot, also to give Miles Sanders carries. So, I mean, I think that would be a perfect situation. I think with him in the slot also, that would also help free up the wide receivers on the outside. So, I mean, I do like Gainwell a lot. I think that he has a lot of upside for his career, and he could easily wind up being the number one running back in this backfield for the season, right? Which leaves us with one last guy in Dallas Goddard, right? What did he do? That was way up there at the top. Dallas Goddard is a fine tight end. I like him a lot, but I think that he's overrated. The way people always talk about him, they talk about him like he's a top 3 tight end, but he just doesn't produce those numbers. 165 points last year on MFL in the PPR, one quarterback PPR standard scoring leagues. Not bad, but it's not great either. I mean, really, just to be serviceable, you're at 140, 165. It means, okay, yeah, maybe you're a starting tight end. That doesn't get you any separation on a weekly basis with the scoring. Once again, 165 points is what? 17 games, that's just under 10 points a game. Placeholder, although tight end's a little bit different. If you get 10 points a week from your tight end, to me, that's good. Because if I can get 7 points from my kicker and 7 points from my defense, so that's 15 points. If I can get 25 points from my tight end, kicker, and defense every week, I think that's good, because that's what I kind of strive for with 25 points there. Because my goal is to shoot for and get to like 150 points every week. And because I think at 150 points every week in a standard scoring league like that, you're going to win 80% of your games or more, depending on the season. I mean, yeah, you can get unlucky and have a season like I had 2 years ago when I was blowing up one team. Up until the last 3 games of the season, my opponents averaged 156 points against me, which was totally ridiculous. But the whole point of there is I was having a bad season anyways. I was getting blown out. So if I had been scoring 150 points a game, I would have had a terrible record, but I still probably would have got in based off of points. So you want to still base your lineup off of that and make sure you're streaming the right kinds of tight ends and that kind of stuff. So that's my whole size of the Philadelphia lineup, right? Why does this thing always go over there? Piece of crap. Doing the extra monitors, which aren't my computer, and it's not working out well. So let's see here. So what do we got next? So let's do the Commanders. Still hate saying that. I prefer the old name because they literally had the coolest uniforms in the NFL. Let's see, Washington. Now, okay. Washington has a bunch of interesting players. And I'll be a little bit controversial with some of these players. Some of these players I'm not going to be controversial with. Basically, let's start with Carson Wentz. I mean, is he an upgrade from Taylor Heineke? I like calling him something different. But obviously he is. The reason that I don't like a fit here for him, and this is going to trickle down with a lot of players, and it's going to trickle up a couple players as far as how other people think about them, is basically because of Carson Wentz and why he left Indianapolis. All right. The reports out of Indianapolis were that he would not check down to the running backs. He would not throw the ball to the running backs. Is that going to have any effect on J.D. McKissick? Even if he takes over that big-time role that he took over from Gibson last year. Is that going to affect him at all, not getting the checkdowns? I would say yeah, probably, yeah. So take that with a grain of salt. Robinson, the rookie, always going to take away Gibson's. Robinson can't hold a candle to Gibson. Can't. I mean, barely can be on the same field here, right? So don't fall into that. I mean, the question mark is what type of offense are they going to be, and what's the usage going to be for their main running back. I'm not going to say Gibson or Robinson's not going to get on the field. I'm not going to say McKissic's going to catch passes, but it's not going to have the extent that people are going to think. And Gibson is still going to be the first and second down back. Can be back on third downs. If they don't get the third down, I mean, he can be on the field for 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 plays straight in a drive, getting them, running the wheel routes, and maybe picking up a couple receptions a game, right? So don't think that he's not going to catch any balls. For Christ's sake, he was a wide receiver in college. He's going to catch a few balls. And just because Wilson doesn't check down doesn't mean that they're not going to design plays for him, right? Same thing with McKissic. So with that being said, the whole scenario there, don't believe the hype, what everybody's saying. Gibson's going to have a very relevant role in this offense. Robinson probably isn't. McKissic's going to be lighter than people think, just based off of game script and everything else, and how Carson Wentz goes through his progressions and how he doesn't check down, basically. So what does that mean for everybody else? I mean, Carson Wentz doesn't throw to tight ends either. So Logan Thomas, when he gets back from his injury, you can rule him out, or any other tight end that they have, as far as going to have a good year this year. I believe they picked up a young tight end that might be for the future, but that's probably going to be when Wentz is gone in 2 or 3 years, and the guy's going to be 3 years older, because that's when tight ends break out, year 3, year 4 anyways. So with that being said, there's only one really position group left with Washington, and that's going to be the wide receivers. So wide receivers, you start off with Terry McLaurin. I see him having a little bit better year than he had last year. He only had 200 points last year. I think, yeah, it's 200 points. So he had a down season. If there's one guy, a receiver, that I would think about for value with getting, would it be McLaurin, even though I'm not doing it personally, just because I like other situations better. All right. I do like Dotson. So he's going to come in and he's going to be good. Is he going to be a superstar? Probably not. If you drafted him and you figure he's going to be between 30 and 40, most likely wide receiver 30 and 40 for many years to come, right? Maybe he can produce a top 10 season. He's got the draft capital. He's got the possibilities with the physical attributes. He was a good receiver in college. So, I mean, could he? Yeah. Probability, nah. But, I mean, he's definitely very good wide receiver too, probably in the future going on. So, I mean, definitely worth a grab on him. And then, Dyami Brown. Well, Dyami Brown is very interesting to me because I do think that he has a lot of upside yet. And I think that with the type of game that Wentz has, that Dyami will have a nice year this year. 500-600 yards, 40-50 catches, get him on the map where somebody's going to want him, next year. I mean, and he's could be a touchdown maker too, based off what he did at North Carolina. So he could wind up being a very good stash. The other guy that people aren't talking about, and I kept him on a couple rosters, was Curtis Samuel. Basically, Deebo Samuel light. Very similar. This last year in Carolina, when he got paid, he was doing exactly those things, running the ball, catching the ball, the whole 9 yards. With all the offensive weapons, though, with Dyami, with Dotson being there now, and with McLaurin, I mean, how many balls are there going to be to throw around to all those guys, which is what my really question is how are they going to keep all these guys busy? Is that going to affect their running game? I mean, I definitely think to start out with, it's going to wind up affecting their tight end and McKissic as far as in that passing game, because Carson Wentz wants to look down the field, second, third level, so or deeper, and so the wide receivers will get more opportunities. I think the running backs and tight ends will get less opportunities in this offense to get balls from Wentz. And then there becomes a whole issue with the offensive line. Are they going to give him enough time to be able to get that deep? So a lot of question marks there in Washington. Now, they do have a great defense. I do think that they're going to be a defense on the rise again this year. I do think that their defense may wind up being in the top 5. So they're a defense that I'm keeping my eye on, and I will be streaming them until I know exactly what kind of defense that they're going to be this year. So that's going to be the size for the Washington Commanders. And then we will go on now into the Giants. And oh my word, are the Giants junk, right? Let's get into some junk. Here we go. Woo! So, the Giants. Again, everything's going to revolve around Daniel. Right? Daniel Jones. So, if he winds up being a competent quarterback, this thing could go really nicely for a lot of players. I'm not betting on him. The only guy I really like on the whole roster is Saquon Barclay. I think that he's going to have a comeback year. I picked up a couple shares of him throughout some leagues. Still trying to pick up some more. People are starting to catch on to what I'm thinking about that their offensive line is a little bit better. If Daniel Jones is still a huge upgrade from what they had at the end of last year, playing quarterback. So he's still a huge upgrade from that. So if he can even dump off to Barkley, and hopefully Daniel Jones has learned his lesson to be able to dump off to running backs, Saquon Barkley is going to be a monster this year. He's going to be 2 years removed from his bad knee injury. He's going to played last year. He turned his ankle. He was just coming around when he turned his ankle, and he never really got back from that. So that was a limiting factor with him, with the terrible offensive line, with the bad quarterback play. I mean, why really kill him last year? You know. As far as their tight ends, the Giants, it's kind of a no-fly zone. You know, I don't see anybody tight ends. Who is their tight end? Jordan Akins is going to be their number one tight end. Ricky Seals-Jones. Daniel Jones doesn't throw tight ends anyway, so I would exclude all of them. Now, they've got a plethora of wide receivers, right? So let's just start at the bottom with guys, right? Let's just go with Slayton. Give me 1 second. All right. Let's go with Darius Shepard. I'm sorry, not Slayton, Shepard. Shepard blew out his ACL or had an ACL injury. So is he ever going to come back? And he couldn't stay healthy before that. So I really want no part of Shepard. If I can acquire him and stash him on my IR, at the beginning of the season, maybe until he comes back. But I still don't see anything there. Darius Slayton to me is a little bit weird, just for the simple fact that he has the tools. He has been good in a season before. It's been a couple seasons now. But if he could get back to his old ways, he could be productive and he could have an increase in value, and you could trade him for something else. So in that aspect, he's intriguing. But as far as a long-term prospect for a guy I want on my team, I don't want him. Wandel Robinson. Very athletic, the running back at Nebraska, Kentucky, whole 9 yards, can catch, super high dominator rating at Kentucky. So, I mean, yes, he checks a lot of the boxes. But again, you're talking quarterback play, you're talking about bad offense, you're talking about bad coaching staff. So do I really want to put that into a rookie's hands, right? It's not a bet that I want to make. I'd rather pick up Robinson next year if I really am a truther for him, when his value is terrible and I can trade somebody a third-round pick to get him. I mean, that's just how I see it. If you really think, Wandel Robinson, Robinson for Arizona, or Moore for Arizona. Moore for Arizona, the wide receiver. If you get him for a third, I saw him get cut in a couple leagues, and he was redrafted. So if you can get a third-round pick for him, there are guys who would do that for you, sell him. So that may be the kind of case with Wandel Robinson next year, if you're a truther for him. So let's get into the couple of guys who actually could be of use this year in this offense: Kenny Gallaudet and Kadarius Toney. With Gallaudet, it's been 3 years since he's been relevant, since he's been healthy. How can you say anything for him? Although that's the type of guy that if he would stay healthy, if Daniel Jones does have a decent season, if they do pull their head out of their butts and are decent play callers in New York, he could have a blow up year and he could be a league winner for you. So it's what you think. I mean, the same is true with Kadarius Toney. I mean, he flashed for a game and a half and everybody's buddy's going gaga. But Chase Claypool flashed longer, and where's Chase Claypool right now? You know, it's as far as value. I mean, do people want Chase Claypool even on their roster? I mean, begrudgingly, people take him. So with that being said, I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic about Kadarius Toney, but I think that he's highly overvalued. I mean, I keep getting guys who want to trade me him. I have a couple shares. I had him in got him a couple shares this year in some throw-in in some trades. So yes, value there. How much? It's a crapshoot. Kadarius Toney last year was in most of the leagues a late second, early third round draft pick. That's how I'm still valuing him. All right. Kenny Gallaudet. I mean, I take a shot on him for a mid to late third round pick. I prefer a fourth round pick, but I mean, whatever you can get him for. I mean, he's definitely worth a dart throw, so to speak. So, I mean, I think I pretty much covered the Giants and the NFC North here in this video. So we will kind of conclude this one. I don't want to get too long-winded on all these. Kind of want to hit out every team and do them in a group. So if people want to come back and reference them, they can. But again, these are one quarterback, PPR, standard dynasty scoring. That's all I talk about. Those are the leagues I basically play. Kind of give some hints about some best ballable guys who I don't like because they're just too up and down. I like the upside, but I like a high floor also on guys. So, because I mean, that's what you want. You want guys in Dynasty, you want guys to score weekly so you can put them in your lineup. Basically, set it and forget it. Get your good group of starting guys and do it, and have the guys below that. To me, we just want guys who are up and comers. So younger players or have changed their situation that you want to take a shot on. So if you have 6 or 8 of those guys, that's what you want, right? And that's how you improve your team. So because guys are going to go down from the top. So just know that. Yeah, well, where was Michael Thomas, Christian McCaffrey 2 years ago? Where are they now? There you go. With that being said, let's end this video. Like, click, subscribe. If you have any comments, if I forgot anybody, once again, comment below, and we'll go from that. So with that said, until next time, have a good day. Let's grab the right one. Come on, where are you?